So if you can't tell by now, one of my New Year's resolutions for the Good Mic Work channel is to do more videos this year. I think I only had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 43 or 44 videos done last year, and that's less than one a week. So at the very least, I want to try to get, like 65 videos done this year. So it's a nice Sunday evening. We're coming up on the second live Raw of the year so far. We just finished watching the second round of the NFL playoffs. We're down to the Final Four. It's going to be Seattle and San Francisco from the NFC, a great rivalry. And another great rivalry on the other side in the AFC, Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. It's going to be the New England Patriots at Denver Broncos. And what I love the most about this year's storyline is no matter what happens next Sunday, whoever wins on Championship Sunday, we are going to get a past versus present Super Bowl quarterback matchup this year in New York. It's going to be fantastic, sort of underlying storyline. If it's going to be Peyton Manning versus Russell Wilson, two hard-working athletes, widely respected, two diverse styles. It can be, the old General Peyton Manning going up against the young buck, the future of the NFL. A Super Bowl victory in this game against an opponent like Peyton Manning could be huge things for a guy like Russell Wilson. What if it turns out to be Tom Brady and Colin Kaepernick? Would be interesting. They're kind of the same guy. A lot of guys don't like Tom Brady because he's married to a supermodel and he's kind of pretty. And Colin Kaepernick kind of seems like a douchebag. I don't really like him. He gives off this really immature vibe to me. I much prefer a guy like Russell Wilson. But whatever the fuck happens in the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be an interesting story where it's going to be the established Hall of Fame legend going up against, the future of the NFL, a whole new quarterback style. Wilson and Kaepernick are a completely different type of quarterback than Brady and Manning. So it will be interesting to see which style prevails, in the biggest game in the NFL. It's going to be good. But after all that football watching, I started reading up on a couple of things on the internet about wrestling, and a couple of things just came to my mind and gave me the idea of doing this commentary. One of the stories that I think just broke, today or the day before, is that WWE is now considering also unifying the Intercontinental title and the United States title. And when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, fucking duh. Why didn't I think of that? That seems like the most logical step. I mean, they've already gotten rid of the World Heavyweight title, or at least they're supposed to. I wish Randy Orton would stop carrying it around. I want to have one belt. So eventually that world title is going to go away, and they are basically severing all ties, with WCW and the old NWA and all of those belts and all of their lineage. The U.S. title is almost out of place. You're back to just the one tag team title, now the one world title. You still have the Intercontinental title. What the fuck is the U.S. title even doing there? It's basically just playing the role of the European title, so they might as well bring the European title back. So unifying the two, I am 1,000,000% in support of. That's fantastic. Reduce these belts. They don't do anything to get the guys over anymore anyway, so it's not going to hurt to have less of them. Because if you do have less of them, maybe things can get back to being like the way they were. There was a time in the past decade where belts were changing hands every single episode of Raw and SmackDown. You couldn't even keep track. So if you're down to your 3 major titles now, that makes things just, so much better. And it looks like they will probably go with a matchup of Big E and Ambrose. The WWE didn't waste any time unifying those world titles when they finally made that decision, so what makes us think they're going to wait on the U.S. and Intercontinental title? They're probably going to do this right away, and your current champions are, 2 future stars of the business, Big E Langston and Dean Ambrose. This could be great. I'm fine with this matchup to unify the titles whenever they decide to do it, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, whatever. And it could serve 2 purposes either way here. I don't know who they would want to put over in this. If you ask me, this could be a great way to launch Ambrose. I know they have big plans for Roman Reigns, but I do think the WWE really wants to do something with Dean Ambrose as well. So if he becomes the guy that officially unifies these 2, secondary singles titles, that could be a nice feather in his cap, but they're also trying to push Big E. So are they going to have him lose? They could just continue Big E's push by having him be the guy. Maybe some of this dissension in the Shield can wind up costing Ambrose his title, and they can still have other plans for him. So I think it could work either way for either guy. With the planned push the WWE has for one Shield member, Roman Reigns, and their inability to do more than one fucking thing at a time, I think maybe Big E is the guy to put over in this situation. But we have to see if it actually happens, but they're talking about it on the internet. So if it's not bullshit, I'm thrilled. This is a great idea. Thank God. Get that U.S. title out of there. It means nothing. There's also the possibility that it is bullshit, like some other fucking stories I read on the internet. Now, I'm no Batista fan, but I got to comment on this. The internet story that Batista already has heat with the WWE locker room. Now, this is what I hate about websites. This story is generated from a tweet that Batista made towards Alberto Del Rio when Alberto Del Rio started tweeting him first, or maybe it was the promo he cut on Raw. I don't know. I can't remember, but basically Batista tweeted something to the gist of a C-level star in a B-level era is believing his own hype and don't turn a work into a shoot or whatever, basically calling Alberto Del Rio a piece of shit. And the story breaks that, oh my gosh, the WWE locker room is really pissed off because Batista buried the whole locker room in one post. Really? Are you fucking serious? This is Twitter, okay? This is trash talk. Are you kidding me? Burying somebody? Batista buried the whole locker room? Who the fuck is Batista to bury anybody? Let's say, for example, since I just talked about football, let's say the Detroit Lions, my home team, a team that sucks. They've never won a Super Bowl ever. They hardly ever make the playoffs, and they're the only team ever to lose every fucking game of the year, okay? They are a terrible franchise, and they constantly disappoint their fan base on a regular basis, year after year. It never fails. So let's say during a game between the Detroit Lions and the New England Patriots, you know, as the linemen are jawing with each other and barking at each other and shit-talking each other during the game, a Patriots player says to the Lions, hey, fuck you. You guys are worthless. You've never won a Super Bowl ever. We got rings all over the place over here. We are a dynasty. We're the New England Patriots, and you guys are a bunch of fucking clowns. Does that mean that that player buried the Lions? No, he was talking fucking shit to him. Just like Batista was talking shit to Alberto Del Rio. Do they have legitimate heat? I don't fucking know. I don't care. I think this is a story that the internet makes up because the people who run these websites read these tweets and they think to themselves, Batista just buried the locker room. Surely that's got to piss somebody off. So let's speculate online that there might be some backstage heat on Batista just to create another story, another headline, another click, another ad sale, whatever. It's fucking bullshit and it's ridiculous. And if there is heat, let's say the story is 100% true, then these wrestlers are little fucking bitches. Oh my God, Batista called this a B-level era. What is going to happen now? Is every wrestling fan out there going to say, no reason to watch the WWE anymore because Batista says that they're all B-level stars, so we might as well not even watch. Is that what you think is going to happen? You know, how much damage did Batista do to the WWE by tweeting that? None. Zero. He was shit-talking with Alberto Del Rio, and the whole thing could probably be a fucking work anyway, because the WWE knows how Twitter works. Ryback's out there acting crazy right now, too. I'm starting to think he's hacked, but if you haven't checked out Ryback's tweets lately, check that shit out. That's some insane stuff. I don't even know what's going on in his head. But maybe the WWE is just playing Twitter games with you. Maybe they tell Batista. Maybe Triple H sends a text message to Batista. Hey, tweet some shit to Alberto and break a little kayfabe and get the fucking internet talking and then delete the tweet so they think you're in trouble. You know, these websites don't consider any of that at all. They think this is all, it's just fucking annoying, that's all. So that's just one little tiny good mic work, pet peeve, mini rant on the wrestling websites who report news that really isn't even news. Roddy Piper has also been teasing some sort of big announcement on Twitter on Monday. I don't know if this is WWE related, WrestleMania related. People have speculated it has something to do with Hulk Hogan. People have speculated it has something to do with Mr. T. I don't know what the fuck to make of it. I guess we'll just wait till Roddy announces it to find that out. As far as Hulk Hogan goes, you know, we're expecting him back any day. Incidentally, by the way, Monday night, this coming Monday, I will not be watching Raw live. Probably won't even get a chance to see Raw until the next day. So my commentary this week on whatever transpires on Raw will not come till mid to late week, you know, Wednesday or Thursday-ish. So keep a lookout for that. But back to Hulk Hogan, you know, apparently he was in Vegas for that whole WWE Network unveiling and all that shit. Luckily, they didn't put him on stage there. You know, they kept him off to the back. He was probably there to negotiate. So Hulk Hogan is as good as back in the WWE. Now it's just a matter of time before the WWE decides to debut him. I don't know if we could see him as early as this Monday night on Raw. I hope not, because when he does come back, I want to be watching that live and be able to react to it live. Still, as far as the plans for him go, I have no idea. I'm very much in favor of the idea of paying homage somehow to WrestleMania 1 with Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan. You know, I mean, shit, if Piper's doing with something with Mr. T, maybe even Mr. T could get back involved in this thing. But who knows what kind of gimmicky match or idea they have for those guys. But if that's what they choose to do, I'm actually all for it. It would be interesting in this stage of our lives, 30 WrestleManias, to see Hogan and Piper in the same ring, just like they were, you know, at the very first one. So, you know, the fan in me is fine with that, regardless of my feelings for Hulk Hogan. I'm excited for the Hall of Fame, too, because they have not announced one single member yet, but I have a feeling this could be a good class. I mean, right off the bat, you have to think this is going to be Jake the Snake Roberts here. They brought him back on Raw. He's on interviews on WWE.com. He might be involved in the Royal Rumble. DDP seems like he's helped him get his shit together, and I think he could hold himself together long enough to do a deal for the Hall of Fame and all of that, and Jake more than deserves it, so I'm already happy that a star of that era, man of that magnitude, is basically already penciled in for this thing. Possibly so is the Ultimate Warrior. Now, if Ultimate Warrior and Jake Roberts go in the same class, that's pretty fucking awesome. It would be really awesome if they could work something out for Savage, too. You know, I have to wonder if that's even possible, and if a guy like Savage does get inducted in the Hall of Fame, you think he's got to be the headliner, you know, the show closer, but that might go to the Warrior this year because, you know, a star his level, he might need to be the headliner, and I don't know if you can induct them both on the same show, but given that it's WrestleMania 30, I would like to see a super class. You know, maybe one of the best ones ever. What if you had Jake the Snake Roberts? What if you had Randy Savage? What if you had the Ultimate Warrior? What if you had what I was hoping would happen all year long, but I'm sure that it's not going to happen now, but what if you also had The Undertaker? The WWE would never put all those guys in at the same time for business reasons because they can stretch those out over many years. But I think even without doing that, this class is looking pretty promising, and hopefully, you know, here in the next week or two, they'll start announcing the first one. And I've also heard rumors about, you know, DX and NWO going in. All of that's fine if they choose to do that, but I'd almost rather see, you know, Triple H, Kevin Nash, or Scott Hall go in separately before that happens. But if they did induct DX or the NWO, I don't know if I'd complain about that either. And hey, they've made up with everybody else, and as crazy as she is, and even though she's a goddamn alien, what if you brought in China? What if they could just somehow reconcile for one night and, you know, give China a little rub for her contributions to DX? But then again, I don't know if the WWE wants all their John Cena-loving 10-year-old audience to go online and Google China either. But regardless of what they do, I just hope the WWE remembers that this is WrestleMania 30, this is a big deal, and treat it as such. And just like they made last year so special with Bruno going into the Hall of Fame in Madison Square Garden, they got to do something equally special this year. So don't let us down, WWE. Come on, let's finish legitimizing that Hall of Fame. And finally, just another follow-up on the WWE Network. I came up and made my last video pretty quickly after learning of the WWE announcement, and I watched a few of their videos, and I pretty much came up here and commented on them right away. Now, my opinion still stands firm. This is going to be a game changer. Big deal, brilliant idea, super cheap, super reasonable. Even people with no fucking money can afford this thing. And I really truly believe that this is going to revolutionize how fans follow the business. I wouldn't even be surprised if in time Raw and SmackDown will be exclusive to this network as well. This is almost a negotiating tool because if the WWE Network does succeed, then these networks are going to be like, shit, we got to do everything we can to keep the WWE with us, and then it just turns the table in their favor. So I think all in all, this could have huge implications on the future, especially with them already showing the pay-per-views on the network. Why in the hell would you even buy one on pay-per-view now? I've really laughed at some of the critics of this, you know, it's going to fail big time. This is just going to a colossal fucking waste of time and money. Who the fuck are you to make that judgment? I think the WWE has pretty much thought about this pretty long and hard. A big corporation like the WWE, a publicly traded company like that, their board of directors and their people in charge aren't going to let them take a risk that they don't think is going to succeed. They've done the research on this and done the numbers, and I have too. And if you ask me, well, good mic work, how do you know it's going to succeed? Because I can add. There are easily enough fans in the WWE that can support this network. But like I said, there's still many questions to be answered. I'm confident the WWE has done this thing correctly, and on paper and from everything they're describing about the network, they are in a no-lose situation. This is going to work. And I think the shows are only going to get better. They taped that Legends House like 2 years ago, and those other shows are just their first ideas. Wait till this network has been launched for over a year, you know, and they come up with more ideas. There's going to be so much great stuff on this. You know, this is the WWE's vision for the future. They want to never have to rely on somebody else to be able to deliver their content to their audience. And like I said, I think the WWE has had these ideas. I remember hearing Vince on interviews during the Attitude Era mentioning an idea very similar to this. He says, you know, I hope one day in the future WWE can have its own television network. He has wanted this for so very long. And as luck would have it, with the internet and the age of technology and the way, companies like Netflix and Hulu have put, video stores and rental companies completely out of business, and you combine that with WWE's raging mega huge boner for social media and everything internet, this was a match made in heaven. As a young wrestling fan, I couldn't even fathom having the luxuries that the young wrestling fan has today, which makes me even more mad when these young little pieces of shit complain so much. They don't have a clue what ignorant, spoiled little raccoon turds they really are. And they are so fucking ridiculous, they just make me want to saw my leg off. But anyway, this is not a rant on them. I just wanted to get that point across. So anyway, that's it for me. There you go. Random commentary. You're going to get these from time to time throughout this year. So enjoy Raw this week. Hopefully for my sake, nothing earth-shattering is going to happen. So Hogan, if you're coming back, please hold off one more week because I gotta see this shit for myself. I will talk to you guys in a few days. Peace.